What happens when America's game belongs to the world? This season, the NFL will play a record 9 international games across 7 countries: London, Munich, Madrid, Paris, Mexico City, Rio de Janeiro, Melbourne. 7 countries, 4 continents. The NFL is no longer just America's game. It is becoming the world's game, and that is worth celebrating. But it is also worth asking a question that nobody in the broadcast ever asks. When you give something to the world, what happens to the people who gave it to you in the first place? Watch closely. Welcome to Crackeres. The NFL's first regular season game outside America was played on the Frost 5 Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. Estadio Azteca, Mexico City. 1 game, 1 country, an experiment. Nobody knew if it would work. Nobody knew if a stadium full of Mexican fans would understand the game, feel the game, love the game. They did. The stadium sold out. The noise was unlike anything either team had heard. The fans arrived in jerseys. They stayed for every down, and the NFL understood something important that day. The game was bigger than America. From 2007, London became the next chapter. 1 game, then 2, then 3, then 4, every year, more. Germany in 2022, Brazil in 2024, Ireland and Spain in 2025, and now, 2026. 9 games, 7 countries, 4 continents. Paris for the first time, Melbourne for the first time, Rio de Janeiro at the Maracanã, one of the most iconic stadiums on earth. 21 years after that first game in Mexico City, the NFL is no longer just expanding internationally. It is becoming global. And the question worth sitting with is simple. What did that journey cost? And who paid for it? Because none of this happened by accident. Every international game costs something. A team gave up a home game. Fans who held season tickets lost a Sunday they had already paid for. Players crossed time zones mid-season, and the league asked all of them to accept that trade. Most did. Because the idea of the game growing, of London and Munich and Rio falling in love with football, felt worth something. It felt like sharing something you were proud of. And that generosity, from fans, from players, from cities, is what made the expansion possible. The question is whether the league remembers that. Ask any American NFL fan how they feel about international games and you will get 2 answers. The first answer is pride. There is something genuinely moving about watching a sport you grew up loving fill a stadium in another country. To see fans in London, in Munich, in Rio dressed in jerseys, learning the rules, feeling the same thing you felt on your first Sunday, that is real. That feeling is real. But the second answer is harder to say out loud, because underneath the pride, there is something else. A quiet feeling that the game is moving away from you. That the Sunday you grew up with, the one that belonged to your city, your family, your neighborhood, is becoming something different, something global, something designed for everyone. And when something is designed for everyone, it is sometimes designed less specifically for you. That is not a complaint. It is an honest feeling, and it deserves to be said. Think about what an NFL Sunday used to mean. Not the game itself, the ritual around it, the drive to the stadium, the tailgate in the parking lot, the same faces you saw every home game, who became something like family simply because you shared the same seats for 20 years. Or if you watched from home, the same couch, the same television, the same people around you, the same rhythm of the day that made Sunday feel different from every other day of the week. That feeling was not manufactured. It was not a broadcast. It was not a marketing campaign. It was yours. And as the NFL becomes global, as the games move to Melbourne and Paris and Rio, that personal relationship with the game begins to feel like one small part of something much larger, which it now is. And the fans who felt it first are now watching the world discover what they already knew. Here is what the expansion actually means when you look at the full picture. The NFL is not just playing games overseas. It is building an infrastructure. Every team now holds international marketing rights in at least 1 country outside America. 22 international markets. All 32 clubs involved. The NFL is playing at Real Madrid's Bernabeu, at FC Bayern Munich Stadium, at the Maracanã, at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. These are not random venues. These are the most recognizable sporting cathedrals on earth. The NFL is deliberately placing itself alongside the most powerful sports brands in the world, not visiting, partnering. And Commissioner Goodell has made no secret of the destination and the international franchise, a permanent NFL team outside the United States. He has said it is a matter of when, not if. London is the leading candidate. Years of nearly 2 decades of regular season games, a proven fan base, world-class infrastructure. And when that franchise arrives, it will take a home schedule. It will take home games. It will take Sundays, games that would have been played in America, in front of fans who have followed this league their entire lives. That is the question nobody is asking yet, but it is coming, and it is worth thinking about now, before it arrives. Because a permanent franchise in London is not just a team in another city. It is a franchise that will need a fan base, a local fan base, people who grow up in London supporting their NFL team, the same way they support Arsenal or Chelsea. And when that happens, the NFL will market to those fans. It will schedule games for those fans. It will build the broadcast around the needs of those fans, which is exactly how football became part of American life in the first place. The difference is that American fans are no longer the only ones at the table. And the table is getting bigger every year. That is not a warning. It is an observation. The kind the broadcast never makes. There is a dimension to international games that rarely gets discussed. The players. An NFL season is already one of the most physically demanding schedules in professional sport. 17 regular season games. Preseason. Playoffs. A season that runs from September to February, with no off weeks for international travel. When a team plays in London, they fly across the Atlantic. They adjust to a 5-hour time difference. They play a game. They fly back. And they have to be ready for the following week. For some players, that disruption is manageable. For others, especially those managing injuries, managing chronic pain, managing the accumulated wear of an NFL season, it is one more thing. One more cost. One more thing the game asks of them that nobody in the broadcast mentions. The fans in Melbourne will see a great game. The fans in Rio will feel something unforgettable. The fans in Paris will discover a sport they did not know they loved. And the players will board another plane and do it all again the following week. That is not a criticism of the expansion. It is an honest account of what it costs. And there is another cost that the American fan feels directly. When a team plays in London or Munich, that game is designated as their away game. Technically. But the team that is designated the home side gives up a home game, one less Sunday at their stadium, one less home game for the fans who bought season tickets, who drove 2 hours to get there, who planned their year around the schedule. The fan in Jacksonville does not get to watch the Jaguars play their designated home game in London. The fan in Washington does not get to watch the Commanders play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Those games belong to someone else now. And as the number of international games grows from 9 this year toward the 16 Goodall has targeted, the number of home games available to American fans gets smaller, one at a time, season by season, quietly, without anyone asking whether the fans who have always been there are comfortable with that trade. Football began in America. It began on muddy college fields in the late 1800s. It grew through small cities and mill towns where the game gave communities something to gather around. The Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are not just teams. They are the identity of a place. They carry the history of people who worked the same shifts, lived in the same streets, and found in football a shared language. That is what the game was built on. And now the NFL is taking that game, the one built by those communities, those cities, those families, and introducing it to the world, which is extraordinary. But it raises a question that only the game's most honest storytellers ever ask. When you expand something, you to dilute it. When the NFL plays at the Bernabeu, is it still the game that was born in Green Bay? When it plays in Melbourne and Paris and Rio, is it still the game that belongs to the fan who was watched every Sunday for 40 years? Or is it becoming something new, something global, something universal, something that belongs to everyone, and therefore to no one in quite the same way it once belonged to you? The NFL has a word for what it is doing. It calls it growth. And growth is good. The game spreading to new people, new cultures, new cities that have never experienced what a November Sunday feels like when your team needs a win. That is genuinely good. But growth always changes the thing that is growing. The Green Bay Packers were built by a small city that could not afford to lose them. The community literally bought shares in the team to keep it from moving. That story, a community owning its team, is the most human story in all of professional sport. And as the NFL builds toward more international franchises, and Roger Goodell openly discusses the possibility of eventually playing as many as 16 international games per season, it is worth asking whether the game still has room for that kind of story, whether it still has room for the fan who cannot afford a flight to Melbourne, but has not missed a home game in 32 years. The answer is probably both. The NFL going global is genuinely good. Good for the sport, good for the players who get to experience it, good for the fans in 7 countries who will fall in love with something they did not grow up with. And it is also true that something changes when you scale a thing. The neighborhood game becomes the city game. The city game becomes the national game. The national game becomes the global game. At each step, something is gained, and something is quietly left behind. The fan who sat in the same seat for 30 years. The city that funded the stadium and filled it every Sunday. the community that gave the game its identity before anyone was watching. They are still there. They still show up. They still care more than anyone in any stadium in any country the NFL will visit this season. The game is going to the world. That is worth understanding, not just celebrating, because the fans who built it deserve to know what that journey means. Not just where the NFL is going, but what it is leaving behind them, the way there. The fan in Cleveland who has watched every game through every rebuild, every disappointment, every season that ended too early. The fan in Green Bay who owns a share of the Packers not because it is worth anything financially, but because it means something. The fan in Pittsburgh, whose family has sat in the same section since before their parents were born. These fans are not against the world loving football. They never were. They just want to know that as the game grows, as it travels to Melbourne and Paris and Rio, it does not forget where it came from. It does not forget the people who were there before the world was watching. That is the story Crackers tells. Subscribe, because the game is bigger than the score, and the story does not end when the final whistle blows in Melbourne. Watch closely.